And we begin at noon with the weather. Here's a live look outside. We could wake up tomorrow morning to some snow on the ground as a winter storm system moves our way. Thanks so much for being here. I'm Kay Quinn. Meteorologist Jim Castillo is here with the Weather First forecast. So when will this rain and snow mix move in, Jim?
Yeah, hi Kay. And by the way, so that snow on the ground would be on the grass or on the elevated surfaces. Not expecting a big issue travel-wise at all. And you know, the big reason why, like last week, that temperature is at 40 degrees right now in St. Louis, and the low tonight expected to be above freezing. So we'll start out with that sunshine that we had earlier. And now look, the clouds are definitely moving in. Here's a look westward toward, through the St. Charles area. Now downtown St. Louis, the clouds are moving in and that temperature holding steady at 40. That might be the high for the day because temperatures are going to cool down with these clouds coming in. And then that moisture starts to fall through the atmosphere. And it's just to the south of us, so we'll watch on the radar how quickly that comes into play here. But again, no advisories for us. That stays down in Arkansas or Kansas or into Oklahoma. So for us, it's that rain snow mixed through this evening into tonight. Should not be a big issue at all. But again, you might see a trace to a half an inch on grassy surfaces, elevated surfaces, things like that. And even tomorrow, a chance of sprinkles in here, but a much more intense storm for Monday and Tuesday. I'll have details on that coming up in just a bit, Kay.
All right, we'll see you in a few minutes. Thank you, Jim. New at noon, the city of St. Louis is now requiring city employees to wear masks while indoors. It comes during a recent surge of respiratory viruses, and just yesterday, the city health department announced it's recommending everyone wear masks in crowded indoor spaces. The mandate does not apply to residents. Health officials say the goal is to avoid a strain on the local healthcare system. Recent data shows COVID hospitalizations are up 38% over the past month. BJC reports RSV cases are nearly 200% higher than the past 4 years, and flu infections are 55% higher. Doctors are urging everyone to get vaccines and stay home if you're feeling sick. A candlelight vigil is held for the victims of yesterday's school shooting in Perry, Iowa. We have new information about what happened. Police say 17-year-old Dylan Butler had a shotgun and a handgun when he walked into the school before classes started. He shot and killed a 6th grader and injured 5 others. Officers later found Butler with an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. We're also learning more about the administrator he shot. According to a Facebook post, that administrator is Principal Dan Marburger, who was identified by his daughter. As investigators look for a motive, some on social media are saying Butler may have been bullied. Pushback in Illinois against a new gun control measure. The Protect Illinois Communities Act bans more than 170 types of guns and high-capacity magazines. Someone caught with an unregistered weapon can be charged with a misdemeanor for a first offense or a felony if caught a second time. But not every law enforcement agency will enforce that new law.
I've notified the chiefs in my county that if the only charge they have against somebody is that they failed to register their weapon, that we will not be accepting them into our jail.
Illinois State Police say they will enforce the law, but the decision to charge anyone is left up to individual states' attorneys. Illinois State Police also trying to bring attention to the dangers of road rage. The department launched a new safety campaign called Road Rage, Don't Engage. ISP says troopers have seen a rise in road rage shootings over the past 3 years. They say it usually starts with something trivial, but can spiral out of control. Here's what to keep in mind while on the road.
If you're in that left lane and people are wanting to pass, go to the right lane and let people around you. Don't force them to pass you on the right. You're just making them get frustrated. And the longer they wait behind you, the more frustrated they're going to get. When you're merging, make sure you have plenty of room. Don't just pull out and cut people off. Don't pull out at a slow speed and make people come to a stop behind you because you weren't up to the speed you should have been when you merged.
If you are a victim of road rage, call 911 or drive to the nearest police station. If you work or live in the city of St. Louis, you pay a 1% earnings tax. Now, a committee of Missouri lawmakers is recommending ways to slowly do away with the tax in both St. Louis and Kansas City, but not everyone's on board. 5 on Your Side's Laura Barczewski talked with several members of the committee.
In both Kansas City and St. Louis, a 1% earnings tax is deducted from workers' paychecks. For St. Louis, that brings in nearly $220 million every year and is a major funding source.
It's been working for decades. It works in many, many successful cities.
But that was not the opinion of the majority of the Earnings Tax Committee, which recommended both cities start to phase out the tax.
It's caused the city to lose population. It's caused the city to lose businesses and growth. So we were looking for alternative ways of bringing income into the city so that wouldn't be necessary.
When it comes to a lack of business growth, Representative Steve Butts says it's not due to the tax.
Their biggest issue, I think, is crime, and their employees don't feel safe downtown and in other areas.
Butts says one thing most of the committee agreed on is getting rid of the earnings tax for low-income workers and those below the poverty line.
It would give people maybe that need the tax break the most, who can least afford to pay the tax. It might lessen the burden on them.
Committee Chair Representative Jim Murphy says one of the solutions proposed would hopefully attract more businesses to St. Louis.
We talked about bringing in enterprise zones where we'd attract new businesses into the city and exempt them from the earnings tax.
Representative Tony Lavasco says additional consumption taxes could also be the answer.
I think if you want to get people to go move to the city, do business there, having a sales tax or something similar is a lot better way of going than taking a piece of people's income.
Butts says increasing sales and property taxes would drive more people away.
So without an alternative, I don't see what else we could do. It would bankrupt the city.
That was Laura Barczewski reporting. A St. Louis City spokesperson says, quote, any legislative proposals to scale back or eliminate the local earnings tax without proposals to replace this revenue are proposals to gut fire and police services, street maintenance and upgrades, parks, the courts, the circuit attorney's office, and much more. The next step is for lawmakers to use these recommendations to craft legislation this session. Missouri health officials are reporting more probable cases of lead poisoning linked to these applesauce pouches. The recalled cinnamon applesauce pouches were sold under the Schnucks, Wanabana, and Weiss brands. The state is now investigating 31 cases. The CDC is reporting nearly 300 cases in 37 states. Health experts encourage everyone concerned about possible exposure to get tested. The race for the White House officially begins in just days. Still ahead, as two Republican hopefuls go head-to-head, an effort to push the frontrunner off the ballot in Illinois begins. Plus, coyote concerns in Brentwood, what you can do to keep your pets safe from the predators.